Hey, Swifty.
Yeah, it's me. Hello, it's Freddie. Like,
It's about to go mental.
Listen.
Today you got myself, DJ Jovie. We got Gumbeaux, PJilla, Jointz, Slippee, and of course, he is a dedicated turntablist, content creator, and the owner of Scratch Break Records. Please welcome to the Skratcher House, Freddie Swiftstyle Garcia.
yeah.
Shout out Don Paco.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
So we are now Sunday. How was everyone's weekend? What did you guys do over the weekend? Give me something good.
It was Josh's birthday, so we had Josh's birthday at Hapa. Shout out Josh. Happy birthday. Yeah, we just had shots all night. DJ, it was fun.
Dog,
it was a good time.
You look sloshed, bro.
Oh yeah, I was gone. When you guys called me last night, I was freaking so faded.
Yeah, bro. Holy
I was in no
smokes.
position to talk to anyone about anything.
Back at Hapa Izakaya, right, Matt?
Hapa Izakaya, Saturday nights. Come check me out.
The best Japanese food in Vancouver, Hapa Izakaya.
Real talk.
Yeah, my weekend was chill. I didn't really do shit.
Yeah.
Just caught up on the rest, man. Dialysis fucking kills, man.
Damn.
Man, sorry to hear that.
Double-edged sword, bro.
Double-edged sword, yeah.
How's yours, Joint? What did you do?
I had date night. We dropped off the young kid. Well, she's like 14 now,
Right.
but she got her first babysitting job with DJ Bamboo
Nice.
Okay.
Hey,
and his kids. And then, the wife and I tried going out. We what do you call it? We tried to go two different spots. One place was like an hour and a half wait for some soba. And so we were like, okay, whatever.
Yo,
Then we went
that's
to
what
the
I
next
love,
spot.
man. That's what I love. You guys keep it real. You guys been married for how many years now?
Going on 18.
18,
Wow.
and they still have date nights, bro. That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. How about you, Gumbeaux?
Actually, I dropped off some gear for an event, and then this is my slower part of the season, so I took my kids to the park and we played tough. So it was fun.
Yo, you're always taking your kids to the park every weekend, huh?
Yeah, man. I try to in the slow times. I do as much as I can to have as many experiences as we can. Because once like late spring, early summer hits, I'm working, man. I'm DJing. So
Yo, that's good, man. That's family man right there.
yeah.
And how about you, Freddie? How do your weekends look like?
That's a tough question. I really don't have weekends. I work all the time. So like this, I guess this Saturday, Sunday, it's right now I'm in the middle of putting out a record. So I'm back and forth working with people all over. So I've got people LA time and I've got people in France time. And it's like, I'm up all night long, just chopping back and forth, sending files, things like that. So for instance, today I didn't go to sleep till probably 9 a.m. and then I woke up at 11. Oof. So then I had to go take care of some things. And then I took like a quick nap. I took like a 2-hour nap and just right back to it.
Can you talk about what you're working on right now? I'm sure we'll get into it later, but like real quick hit.
Yeah, so right now we're in the middle of a repress and a reissue of Hand Control and Phrase.
Yes, I ordered it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So sick.
I did too, man. You know what I mean?
Appreciate you guys. Yeah.
Honestly, my favorite phrasing record to use, like of all time.
Which one's that?
Phrase.
Oh, Phrase, dope. So Phrase, it's a funny subject for me because Hand Control, we're already on our 5th pressing of. There's thousands of copies of that one out there, but we haven't pressed it in a few years. It's probably been like 4 years since we pressed last, maybe 3. But Phrase came out in 2020. It was so much work. It was so much labor that we had to put into it just to get that one product out. When I sat back and looked at it, I was like, well, if I'm gonna do that again, let me make some adjustments. Not to make it easier, but in my opinion, it's like if I'm gonna touch it, then let me work on it again and let me get the little imperfections that I see or I hear out of the way. So essentially, Phrase now will have a B-side. The initial concept for Phrase, which everybody seemed to understand, which was great, because I wasn't sure how people were going to take to it. When Phrase came out, which is right here, the concept for it was a single-sided clear record, right? The reason I wanted to do single-sided is because when the records are clear, if there's grooves on both sides, you can't tell where your track markers are. I'm sure you see that in clear Serato records, things like that. Yeah. So my idea was like, all right, well, let me do one side, and then for the content of the B side, I'll design a looper dedicated to it. So every single track will have its own beat, essentially. You know, so this time around, so that's phrase. That was the original phrase. Not only that, we put out the clock cue marker system. So we had printed up cards. I made a dedicated video with the QR code. We included stickers and labels. There was a lot of work that went into this, which I'm very, very proud of. You know, there's 1,000 copies of this out there. I guess the easiest way for me to put it is like, I want it to live like Hand Control lives. So when I'm thinking repress phrase, I'm like, damn, do I want to put all that work back into it? Or can I do something that'll allow me to just continue repressing? And therefore, that's how we came up with the B-side. I was like, you know what? I got some ideas for the B-side. I've got some things that I haven't shown, and this will probably be a perfect platform for me to introduce that with, you know.
Real quick, I copped that extra, so I got the pack, but then you offered it's like a special or like a one-off that you're doing. What's that about?
Okay, so there's four packages right now, essentially. There's one combo pack. The combo pack comes with both Hand Control and phrase, and it will also come with limited edition slip mats that have the designs of Hand Control and phrase. Both of those artists who design, one is a buddy Vince, and my other friend Fried Pixels out of LA. He did Hand Control. The artwork on both of those that we used on the repress and reissue are the original concept design. So I've had this artwork for years, but when I went back to look at this, I was like, you know what? This other artwork's so dope. Let's just bring that to life with this reissue. So you've got the combo pack that comes with that. It's 2 records, 2 slip mats. We also have, you know, you can buy them individually, or that one that you're probably talking about is a test pressing of phrase. So we opened up that variant, which is a signed test pressing. Yeah. So you can get, you know, right now you can get a signed test pressing of phrase. And quite a few people, surprisingly, have added that to their cart as well.
I 100%. Yeah.
So, thank you. That's the only way you're going to get a black copy of phrase, because it's like, it's a test pressing. It's a legit test pressing. It's, you know, that'll be one of our first things sent over. And phrase, I don't know if you guys saw today on Instagram, this morning, which is what I was working with our cutting engineer. Today, we cut phrase over again. So we recut the A side and we recut the B, and we added the B side as well. So both of those are made. Tomorrow, we're making the metal work and the stampers and all of that. So I'll be showing all that process as well.
Is it just you on the team, Freddie?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I've got people that I lean into, and I've got like advisors, essentially. Like I've got a partner that I work with a lot, but it's pretty much just me.
You mentioned there were some imperfections that you didn't like on phrase, the A side, that you're gonna change.
Only imperfection.
I can't really notice anything.
Only imperfection, and it is a very, very small thing. And I saw this on a comment, and I also saw it the other day. I had some people over. We watched that invitational, and my buddy brought his copy of phrase. The only little imperfection is I wanted the gain to go up 2 dB. That's it. I wanted to raise the gain just a little bit.
Yeah, I noticed that.
There's a reason why the gain is a little lower, so it won't be as loud. But when you bring the gain down, when you're in ultra pitch, you won't notice anything on the cut. Everything's going to be super clear. But this time we're trying to max it out.
Freddie, I like how you're very detailed and very perfect in your craft. I take notice on how you produce your records, how you keep your desk back there clean all the time with all your cuts and stuff. You put your mixer away after each video, you put it back when you cut, and you're very neat and tidy. So it goes back to your origin. Like, how did you become a DJ who's very intricate in their work and very detailed? Like, what could you tell us about your background story? Where did that all come from, and how you became a DJ?
That's a good one. I mean, the cleanliness, all of that stuff is OCD. That's 100%. That's 100%.
We all got that. We all got that.
100%.
Yeah, I'm on.
What is that again?
Yeah, definitely. There's a bit of the spectrum there. You know, it's like going back into like the origins of DJing. That's a good question, because that's something I really don't talk to about or I don't talk to many people about. But I mean, I guess it started in the 90s. It 100% started in the 90s. And like many others, it started with mixing, or the first thing that caught my ear was a mix show DJ. I remember specifically being in the car with my mother at a very young, I think I was like in the 5th grade, and I heard a mix show DJ playing. And this is when I lived in San Antonio, where I grew up. And I was calling out the songs that were coming. I'm like, oh, they're about to play this. They're about to play Kwame or whatever was coming. Like as a kid, I was hearing that, and it just stuck with me. As I got a little bit older into middle school and things like that, I started taking to DJing, seeing stuff online or seeing stuff on TV, hearing mix show DJs. And I just really took into it. And I have a cousin who was a DJ in San Antonio on the radio, and he introduced me to like my first mixer. And from there, I was just hooked. It started with my father's Sony turntable and a Newmark mixer. It's all like crap compared to what we use today.
It was at a Radio Shack one, dude.
Oh, dude, this didn't even have pitch control. Like, yeah, the turntables, like, so what I was doing was, when I was a kid, I would collect electronics. So I would go around my neighborhood and I would see people's garages open, and I'd see speakers and amplifiers and things like that. And I was addicted to electronics. So I was the kid who had 7, 8 mismatched speakers in the room, all wired up. I learned how to wire everything up. I learned how to hook everything up. And once I got my hands on a turntable, I already knew how to work cassette players and record and dub and things like that. So I got my hands on a turntable and a mixer, hooked it into a cassette player. And what I would do is I would record the instrumental, and then I would play the acapella. So I'd record it on cassette, play it back, and then mix in the acapella, or just get creative like that. Until finally I got a turntable, which I ordered through Upstairs Records in New York. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. But 100%. Back in the day, in the magazine, in like the Source magazine, in the very back, this is how you saw DJ ads, and stuff like that, where you could see kits before there was internet, and there was like a Newmark turntable for like $150 or something. It was belt driven, but it had pitch control. So then I finally got one with pitch control, and I could just gradually start growing from there.
That's crazy.
Do you mind me asking, how old are you, Freddie?
No, I don't. Hey, you don't ask a woman her age, bro. No, I'm 43.
Oh, okay. We're same age. Same age.
We're same age, yeah, man. Where did the name Swiftstyle come from? How did you coin that?
My cousin gave me the name DJ Swift, and this is again back in the 90s. I started DJing with freestyle music, and I still collect freestyle to this day. So
I like your freestyle sets, bro.
Your shit is dope.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And yeah, I just put them together, probably like 98, 99. I just changed it from DJ Swift to Swiftstyle.
Do you have any of those mixes out online?
There was some stuff on Mixcloud, I believe. But I put them up so long ago. I think there might be a few mixes, but you can see on YouTube, I did a series starting last year called Forever Freestyle, and it's like me going live for like 2 hours and just mixing through my vinyl. All vinyl.
Yeah, I caught some of those shows, man. It was dope.
Appreciate that, man.
I'm always on your shows, bro.
Good looking out, man.
I'm a huge fan of you, dog.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I think the first video I caught of you was when you were dressed up as Kylo Ren when you released your Force video.
I can't.
Yeah.
That was the one that drew me into your world, bro. Because I was like, that was the best Star Wars theme I've ever heard in my life.
Thank you. I recently, every once in a while, I go into, I don't know if you guys might have saw this on my story, but every once in a while I go into YouTube and I see people that might be using my content. For the most part, it's like somebody who they just repost my stuff, and all power to them. Like the way I look at it is, they're posting me, so I'm not going to hate on it. Now, if they got like 10,000 views or 100,000 views and they're getting monetized, then we got a problem. But for the most part, it's just them sharing the love of Scratch, right? But
yeah,
last year I noticed this podcast. I can't remember the name, but I was like, why would they have my video? Or what? How are they using my video? I saw like 3 or 4 in there, and I clicked it, and the Kylo Ren video or the Star Wars video is literally their opening. Every day, every time they start a podcast, they're like, yo, we're here. You know, say their name, stuff like that. All right, let's get into the scratch break. And they go into the Kylo Ren video. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
what?
Like,
how does that make you feel?
Yeah, like,
yo,
tight,
so
but what?
that it makes me feel good. I understand how it relates because it's comics and Star Wars. But what I was thinking the other day, and I posted this on my Instagram, and I'll probably do it once I clear my board up a little bit. I was like, these guys have been doing this for well over a year. It's been like 2 or 3 years running now. Right. What if I reached out to them and was like, yo, let me make you guys a dope intro. Like, let's go in. What are your favorite comic book characters? I'm not going to dress up, but I'll get creative with it. Like, but it's funny because that Kylo Ren video, I can never escape it. Like every May the 4th, it's posted. You know, I see it all over the place. And I'm personally,
it's that one in Scratch Bastards that always comes up in my feed when he did the Emperor's March, right?
And I was very proud of the video when we made it, but that was essentially the first thing that I made that went viral. You know, it got like millions of views on Facebook, and I know it's over 1 million on YouTube now. So it just gets attention from all different directions. So people that might not necessarily understand scratching, like what the hell is this guy doing with turntables? And wait a minute, he just he just used the Force. So okay, he's cool.
Yo, can you break that to us? Break us. How did you do that?
Honestly, that brings me to my next question, man. How did you use the Force on that video, bro? Because I kept on rewinding. I'm like, yo, how is he using the Force there, man?
So you guys asked me if there's anything I'm not willing to talk about. There's one thing, and that's the Force, bro.
Fair enough. Fair. Trade secrets.
Which Star Wars was your favorite episode?
Oh man,
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
That's the one. That's the one, though. That's the one.
Rogue One took me. Rogue One was like
that's Paul's favorite too.
Yo, Rogue One, it took us into another direction and gave us another side of it and story. And I love the fact that, I mean, I don't like the fact that they died at the end, but the fact that they like, yo, we're gonna tell this story and it's not gonna be a happy ending. You know, it was a great episode.
Spoiler warning.
It made you want to watch like episode 4 again after Rogue One. You just wanted to see.
Oh yeah, because then you're digging in. You're like, wait a minute, this ties into what? Let's go back.
Yo, that scene when Vader comes in and just damn, bro.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the best scene.
That's the best scene. That is the best scene. I've always been attracted to the darker side of things when it comes to entertainment. You know, comics.
Are you a Sith Lord? Are you a Sith Lord?
Yeah. So you know what's funny? Here, I got a funny story about that Kylo Ren video. I decided to make that video before the movie released. And I was like, I'm going to do this when it premieres, because they were already selling all the masks and everything like that. So we didn't know much about these characters, but there was 2 masks that they were selling. They were selling the Chrome mask, which belonged to, I can't remember her name, but it's a woman. And they were selling Kylo Ren's. And I literally almost got the Chrome mask and did it with that one. And if I would have done that, like, it wouldn't have taken off. It wouldn't have been anything, because it would have essentially been a woman that doesn't have the Force. It wouldn't have made any sense. But yeah, luckily I went with the dark. I was like, I think this is the one, which was Kylo Ren's mask.
Captain Phasma. That's what it was.
There you
Captain
go.
Phasma.
No, for real though, you got to go back to the Force on that video, dog. How did you do it, man?
There it is.
Maybe he really does have the Force, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pulled that off. I had friends help me with that one. I had 512 Fred. He was here. My cousin Manny. He was here as well. But yeah, we did like uplighting and all kind of stuff in the house, and like it came out good. I was really proud of it. But what I was saying earlier, what I was getting to earlier was, I don't necessarily like the video now because I know that I could do way better cuts than that. So when I hear those cuts, that's cuts of me. What was that? 8? I don't even know. 8 years ago or something like that. Like, so that's cuts that I did so long ago that I'm not necessarily that proud of the cuts, but I'm happy with the video. I'm happy that everybody still loves that thing. Still talks about it till this day.
Those cuts are still nasty to me.
I appreciate
me too,
that.
bro.
Those cuts are still ridiculous to me.
Still nasty.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm just such a. I guess I hate to use the word perfectionist, but when it comes to my recording, if I'm recording a session like and I miss one click, like I hear it and I won't be able to get past it, and I'm like, all right, let's start this over, you know. And there is sometimes where I'll just freestyle and I'll go off, but I hear the little imperfections and it sticks with my brain. It's just like, yo, that, you know what you did there, you need to fix that. Like,
on that video you made, that the phrase video that you made, how many takes did that take? That's probably one of my favorite freestyles that you've ever done, is that on that phrase video you made.
That was probably 1 or 2 takes. I nailed
that. Yeah. Sick,
you know what's funny? I did it last night. I was in here and right now I'm working on promo for Phrase. So I'm like, well, what if I just redid that and with that same beat, and I put it on last night. I obviously I have the record right here, and I started going through. I was like, oh shit, I could do it, and it sounds. There's even more things that I've learned since then. You know, back it's 5 years ago now. Right, so I was like, what if I just redo that as a promo? I've got a few concepts or a few ideas that I'm gonna film before the pre-sale ends, which is in this time next week.
Crumb and D-Styles' demo for it was off the hook, man. For Phrase.
Yeah, Babu and D, Crumb, one of my favorite scratchers, Muzzle got on it, and that we hadn't seen him in a while.
That's right.
It was a real blessing to get him on there. Prolifics, Fred was on there. We had 12 DJs, so Prolifics,
J-Mars?
Fred. J-Mars jumped in last second. That's a funny story. I actually had Critique, and this is when Critique was kind of going more into photography.
Yeah.
But Critique made a video for the sample that J-Mars used, but he wasn't necessarily happy with it. And he was just like, I'm not happy with it. I'm not feeling it. I was like, all right, no sweat. And then J-Mars reached out last second. He was like, yo, I'm down to help with anything I can do. So I ended up giving him that sample and that beat to use. And he killed it too.
It's cool. Yeah, he
stopped. That's the homie. Yeah, he got super creative, like showed the door, like had the doorbell ringing. He's watching Dopez. Dopez was another one.
Yeah, J-Mars is a phrasing freak, man. He knows the phrase than a mug, man.
So talking about film, we've noticed that you do a lot of detail work in film. I always admire your shots and your cinematography kind of style. But one of your posts, you were in Alaska, and you were cutting up there, and I was like, wow, this guy travels, but damn, Alaska, like what brought you there?
So that's an interesting story, and that's how I met my partner, Moody. And Moody helps me film a lot of the stuff now. But when I was doing the tour, it was a Scratch Life tour in 2016, I believe. My homie Tim, who was on the tour with us, we were all over Europe and all over Asia for this tour. Tim knew Moody through Beat Junkies, and Moody is in the film industry. And he reached out to Tim. He was like, yo, I need to get in contact with this guy. Like, he's dope. And Moody always tells me the story of how he found me, and he searched on YouTube Red Camera Scratch DJ, and it's like, because those are his two loves, right? Like cinematography and scratching, and that's how he found my channel. And he told me ever since then he was hooked until we met up. Now we're close. He's essentially like a partner, and we work on a lot of ideas constantly together. But Moody reached out. I met him 2018. And then we had already met. We worked on a couple things in the Scratch world. But in 2020, early 2020, pre-pandemic, he reached out and he was like, yo, I've got this gig. Do you know anybody who might be interested in it? And it's working for a show in Alaska called The Last Frontier. He was going to be the lead director of photography, and he needed to build his camera crew. And I was like, well, shit. I'm like, this is kind of all the things that I'm working. I was like, do you think that they would show any interest in bringing somebody like myself in? And he was like, are you kidding? He was like, absolutely. And especially considering he was the lead, he had a lot of pull. And this is a crazy story because, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but he sent my YouTube channel to the showrunner at Discovery, and that was my resume. And they were like, wait a minute, this guy has at this time probably 300 videos up. He knows how to shoot, he knows how to edit, so he knows how to film to edit, he knows all the ins and outs. He just doesn't have his any kind of work in this industry. So I remember jumping on that call, and she was like, I'm taking a chance, but I see what you're capable of, and I'm more than confident that you can do this. And her name was Molly. So Molly reached out, we talked, we had that conversation, and I think it was in February when we went out to Alaska. I got the gig, and this was a new venture for me, but I'm all about that. Like, if somebody comes my way with some kind of new opportunity, like, I don't need to be, but I'm always like, all right, well, let me weigh these options out. If this is something that I might be interested in or something I might like doing, then I'll try it out. But February, we went out to Alaska, started filming. Obviously, COVID hit in March while we were there. That got crazy, but we ended up going back a little bit later in the year, and that started my run in that industry. And John, my buddy Moody, he told me then, like, I was super nervous, like, damn, like, all of these people these veterans have been in this field for years, and they came in through film school, they came in through all these other avenues, college, all this other way, or all this other route to get into this thing. And I don't have this background. I'm essentially like self-made when it comes to all my production and video and everything that I've learned. I'm self-taught. But he was just like, yeah, but you have the one up on everybody. He was like, nobody here is able to do, and nobody here has your eye. And he told me, and it always stuck with me. He was just like, just wait. The way this works in this industry is you work with a company, and everybody in that company goes off to different jobs. And if you do good, they all start calling. And sure enough, like, by the end of that season or mid-season of that show, I was already running my own family, which was essentially my own crew. Then I was brought back to do like pickups. So I was like flown back out to Alaska just to do pickup shots and stuff like that for the show. And ever since then, it's been, it was Discovery. I've done Discovery. I've done National Geographic. I've done History Channel. And I've done a couple of other ones, but it all started there, and it was, it just sprouted out from there pretty much.
Yo, you've shot for all of those guys? So what, have you shot for like animals and stuff like that?
For National Geographic, we did a show in Boston called Wicked Tuna, which is on...
I love that show.
Yeah, it's on Disney now. It's a Disney show. So I did with my buddy Josh. Once I got introduced to him, I essentially became his right-hand man, because he was like, yo, you're not leaving my side. Like, I need you on my team. Like, anywhere I go, you go. And that goes for this day. He's always calling. We're always talking about the next thing. But we did a show called Wicked Tuna. That was for, that was for Nat Geo. But we were part of the chase boat crew. So there was like 8 to 10 boats that are out there fishing. We had our own specialty boat that we flew drone and had like $200,000 camera equipment on the boat, just getting all the beauty shots on that show.
Did you actually get to eat some of that tuna on there? Or?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So it's actually real, right? They're actually catching it like that. That's really documented, like correctly, and nothing's like staged or nothing, eh?
No, that's the real deal.
Yo, crazy.
Oh.
So with all of these, these attributes that you're building towards Scratch Break, what would you say Scratch Break's mission is? It seems like it's a powerhouse that could do everything. Especially with you behind it. So in the end, what's your mission for Scratch Break?
The mission is building the community, and it's like, the goal for me is to have little kids receive turntables under the tree for Christmas. That's always been the goal for me, is like, how can I get this into all households and everybody interested in scratching, and we've got a couple ideas and concepts that we've been working on to, like, down the pipeline, that we're trying to reach into other avenues with it, because it's such a niche thing, right? But we all love it so much. We all feel the same way about scratching. It takes us there mentally. It lets us get away from our problems or whatever it does for anybody. But the goal is just building and growing the community. That's always number one for me, is just getting more people involved.
Yeah, dope. In building on that, Swifty, one of your posts that got a lot of traction was your stance on scratch beat producers monetizing their beats instead of giving it away.
Yes.
Right? Can you elaborate on that for us? I know you had an amazing post on that. I just wanted to touch on that.
This is our art, right? This is not just our hobby. For me, This is my career. So I'm trying to get everybody on the same level and in the same playing field, instead of just giving away your work. Like, it costs money for this gear, right? Like, we spend thousands of dollars. Some people spend thousands of dollars on plugins. Some people spend thousands of dollars on hardware. And that's not even calculating the time that you're investing into this thing and how many hours go into just learning how to make and produce a beat. I've always felt this way this goes back to understanding my value. I understand my value. It took me years, but I truly do understand my value and my time. And I want everybody to understand their value. That's so important, because once you do, no offense to anybody who's giving things away. I get that. But that just reminds me of the DJ that will trade for promotion. And I've never been cool with that. I've always wanted to take a stance for that, as most DJs do. But a lot of people just don't. They're used to the ways, and they're like, all right, you know what? It works. I get some likes on my channel. I get some views. I meet some friends. It's cool. But in my opinion, if you're putting all of this energy and effort into something that you love, then you should be compensated for it, period. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. It's like that. And it's like, I'm not against free loopers. I get it. But I think there should be a world where everybody charges for their loopers. I mean, we pay, just think about when people go get coffee, or think about like any of those small items or those small ticket items that people pay for. Like, so you're telling me that you're willing to work on this beat for a week and just hand it out? Like, again, if that's your jam, then more power to you. But I believe in you. I believe that you can. I see the bigger picture, and I believe that you can take that item and turn it into something. And even if that just funds your gear, then that's cool. It doesn't necessarily have to be a career, but what if it allows you to expand your vision?
Do you think that change is going to be hard to happen because everyone's so comfortable with getting beats for free now?
I think it can happen. I think certain platforms need to take a stance and own it. If you're not making money now, what's it going to hurt if somebody doesn't pay for it? How's it going to hurt? If somebody says, I'm used to getting this for free, I'm not going to pay for it. That's fine. But if you've got, it goes back to the rule of 100, right? Where it's like, if you've got 100 people that truly believe in you, so even if it's 10 people that truly believe in you, and they believe in your product, and they believe in what you're making, then that should be enough to just keep you inspired and keep you going,
In building off that, brother, I think and it shouldn't be an uncomfortable conversation at all. But I was reading through some things, and I was reading about how, POC communities specifically, like when money exchanges hands, like we're so niche in the cut culture, right? Turntablism is such a niche thing. Like, in certain communities, the dollar will pass 6, 7, 8 times inside of that community before it leaves. And in our culture, in our community, it's once or none at all. And again, it's like nobody's running out here trying to, make millions off this, but recognizing worth. And I think it's a paradigm shift in thinking that needs to happen inside of our culture, where we take care of ourselves. I
definitely take responsibility, at least for myself, for taking a stance on certain things, and upping our value. I'm all for it. And same. I mean, I don't know if you recognized, but this is the first scratch record that has sold for $50. And just like the Lathe Cut, the SBLC series that we did, that was the first record that sold for $100. But not one person questioned it. Not one person. I'm not trying to, the idea, and this is something I've never talked about publicly. The idea behind it is raising our value. Like, you're going to spend $350 on some kicks, but you won't spend $50 on a scratch tool. Like, this is not just a record. This is a tool. And if I can go to Target and see a Taylor Swift record sell for $50, then you better believe I understand my value on my records, And by doing that, my hope is that the market goes up. You can't hate on me because I ain't undercutting anybody. So if you have a problem with it, then you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. But the idea is that the market goes up. Everybody understands that this is art first, and then this is a tool for people. This is something that somebody has on their turntable every single day. You know what I mean? Like, it's a tool.
It is. It's a tool that continues to make art.
Exactly.
Yeah. And honestly, I think like something that I've respected about you the most is your view on the turntable scene and like kind of how to push the culture forward from a place where it's kind of taken a step back. And we had some cool talks outside Lotus's house, and there's one thing that really kind of stuck out to me. I asked you why you didn't battle.
I've never battled, and I don't plan on battling because it's essentially my mission to show people that you can make a name for yourself without going the traditional route. I absolutely love battles. I mean, we throw battles. Like I love everything there is to do with battles, but I don't feel like in this day and age, in my opinion, it's like, use me as, look at me and say, okay, well, he didn't battle. He doesn't battle. He didn't come up in that route or with that route. Like so the idea or the concept behind it is just, you don't need to take the traditional route. I've never been one to take the traditional path in life, and that just so happened to work in this favor in this market as well. So the goal, not necessarily a goal, but like, yeah, that's the reason. I love battles. So if anybody watching this is a battle DJ, respect, like 100% respect towards you. I have nothing against battles, but it's kind of my mission to let people know and help people understand you don't need to take that route to get a name for yourself. If your goal is to scratch with the best, or your goal is to just be recognized by people, you don't need to take the battle route anymore.
Yeah, because you got that, man. Yo, in Lotus's house, in the room full of killers, you are the killer of the killers, man. Like every time everyone stops when you're cutting, man. It's crazy to see.
That's real talk.
It's funny because once a year, I had to sit back and really think about this, because every time there's a session at Lotus's that happens, and I don't really think about it because I'm just cutting, but after I get a video sent to me or people post videos and I'm like, oh shit, I'll sit back and I'll observe, and I'm like, okay, everybody just went quiet. And there's the one I did, not this last session, but the year before, you can hear people talking when I'm cutting, and I don't know who it is, but you can hear a conversation going on, and the guy's like, yo, this guy's like, he's like next level phrasing, like you don't understand. And it just put me into perspective, like, oh, like, okay, that's interesting. But and this is something that I push for heavily in the scratch scene. The one thing that I do that separates me, and I know this because I've been told and I've seen it, is when I get up there in the octagon or in the session, I'm the only one phrasing. Like I'm yep. Like, I'm not gonna grab ah. Ah is our comfort zone, and I love ah too, just like everybody else. That's why there's an ah on every record. But I'm gonna go up there and do what I'm comfortable with and what I think is funky, and that always it gets attention, it turns heads,
Motherfucker.
Yo, man,
yeah, motherfucker. But that also builds on that knowing your self-worth thing to 360 this, like to get the DJs in our culture to understand that you are unique and you do have something to offer, and to kind of stand on that square in that business and not necessarily take the traditional routes. It offers a pathway for everyone, I didn't come to this like I DJ professionally full time and I do it the way that I do it, but when I sat down with my wife and talked about it, like I didn't want to continue like touring clubs. At one point I was on the road 10 months out of the year. That was amazing. I got some awesome shit from my 20s and 30s. But at a certain point, like I wanted a family, and there's just these other things that I wanted. And I had to sit down and really think about what was important to me, but also like what was important to our culture and how we do this, and being, sometimes that leadership role. You take hits when you go through the door for sure. But again, they can point to you and go, look, he did not come at it that way. He went at it this way. And it should be inspiring, and you should roll the dice and take risks. So for all the, the DJs listening out there, take risks, man. Try different shit. You don't have to do it the same as everybody else. Real talk.
That's one thing that I always, I wouldn't say I struggle with it, but it's something that plays over in my head whenever I'm about to launch something or release something, not necessarily like a video, but a product or something that the industry doesn't necessarily know. I kind of go into a think tank and I'm like, I get stuck, and I don't get stuck, but I'm there for a while before I introduce it. and I have a few people that I bounce ideas back and forth with. And one of the questions that always comes up to me personally is like, how are people going to look at this? You know, is this something that somebody's going to look at and it seemed like I'm taking advantage of a situation? But I'm constantly reminded, and this helped me get over that hump. My partner was like, he was like, you've been doing this for X amount of years. If anybody looks at anything that you do with that perspective or that light, like, then they don't understand you, and you don't even need to concern yourself with them. You know,
that's not true.
It's true. And I don't get hate, which is great. I mean, I get, of course, with all of the views on YouTube, there's comments that aren't necessarily the best thing, but for the most part, it's people that just don't understand scratching, because the range is getting out there, right? Like it's expanding. And somebody who sees it might be like, damn, that's the controller one's not the Grail. The Grail is the Technics 1200. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a range of people watching, and I have to keep that in mind every time I post something when somebody might have something negative to say. Typically it comes from the direction of not understanding exactly what I'm doing.
And that right there, brother, that says it all, because opening up that lane and allowing space for those conversations allows those people to learn if they're pursuing it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And a lot of people, that's one thing that I'm really proud of, is with that range, it's bringing more people into the scene. It's a few times a month where I get a comment that really touches me, because it's like, I used to DJ 25 years ago and I got back into this because of your channel. So now I'm back. I produce now, but now I'm back and I want to scratch. What's the best scratch setup to buy? What's the, which direction should I take getting back into this? And that's right there. That's the goal, is like, bring more people into the community, because that will essentially help us expand on a broader level.
Absolutely.
Going back to the battle, when not battling and stuff like that, would you participate in a battle today? Like, let's say we scratched through an online battle, right? And we called you out, we invited you, right? Would you do it?
It would. I've thought about this. I gotta think this one through.
Yeah, good question, PJ. Good question. Yeah.
Take your time,
that's a good question.
Take your time, Freddie.
Take
your time.
It would take somebody that doesn't respect what I'm doing, that needed to be put in their place. But it had to be somebody. It had to be somebody that's worth bringing down and leveling out.
Right.
And it's.
I like that.
It's not because it's like, understanding value. I understand what I'm capable of with this. I understand what I'm capable of doing with my camera and the editing skills and everything else that comes with it. And there is absolutely zero. There's nobody that I'm looking at when I say this. I respect everybody in every field. But if somebody needed to be humbled, then yeah, I would probably be that person.
Freddie, I wanted to ask you about the lathing process. I know that's another skill that you recently picked up.
Yep.
And like, what's it like to produce a lathe, and the process of it, and then, is that something you do for your records now before they go to press, or?
So the lathe is something that I've been after for years, since I was, I could remember when I first started DJing. There was in San Antonio, this is before CDJs. The only way that you can scratch your name is if you met somebody that had a lathe, and they charged $100 to put your name on record. This is a monocut record, but a DJ could now have his sample or his name on a record. And it's a one-off. It's a dub plate, essentially. Ever since I knew that this is something that you could actually do, you can make your own records. Like, I've been after that. But it's such a small community, and it's so hard to get into, because there's only one company that makes the lathe. The only way that you can get this lathe is if he approves you and you fly to Germany and you train for it. And that's this guy right here. I've been I've been in contact with the owner of this company. His name is Suri, for years before he finally approved me. He goes through all the steps. Like, he wants to see your Facebook. He wants to see you on social media. Because he's an old German engineer, and he's protecting his investment. He's trying to make sure that you're not going to get this thing and reverse engineer it and sell it. So anybody that he has out there, he goes through these things in order to vet them and to make sure that they're not going to just screw him over.
Yeah.
And I was back and forth in emails. Oh, man, I don't even remember the year. It was probably 2018 when it started. And it wasn't until 2 years ago that he finally reached out. And I sent him another email. And I didn't want to blow him up because I didn't want to get on his list. And I sent him another email. I'm still interested. I'm ready. I understand that I need to train. I'm ready for whatever we need to do. And he was just like, yo, I have an opening this week in October. And I was literally packing to go film in Alaska for a few months. And my end date for that film job was 1 day away from when I needed to start in Germany. If I was to tell him no, I'd be out. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, sign me up. Let's go. Let's do it. And literally, when I got done in Alaska, I flew home, I dropped my bags off, I jumped on another plane that same day and flew my ass to Germany and went over there and trained for a few days. And yeah, wow. I mean, but the process, I mean, it's very intricate. It's definitely a science. I'm always learning, just like I am with scratching or just like I am with editing and filming and everything else. It never, ever stops. It's such a hands-on situation. Like, you can't just sit it and forget it. I can't just put a record on there and just go do something else. I'm literally having to manage every single cut, every single groove, every single track marker. I have to manually put that in. So it's very, very, very awesome. Hands-on. It's a labor of love. It took me a full year of studying it and perfecting it the best that I could before I introduced it to anybody. And I'm like, okay, I'm happy with my cuts. I'm happy with the way they sound. I understand the science. Let's start opening up cuts for other people. And quite a few, my queue right now. I'm not really proud to say this, but because I'm so busy, but my queue right now, I've got like 125 records to cut, here in the next 2 weeks. And it's very busy, but it's also one of those things where I'm like, maybe this is something that I should slow down a little bit on. I'm definitely lowering my bulk orders. Originally, my bulk order minimum was a dozen and a max of 50, and now I'm bringing it down to 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just because it's very hands-on. Every single groove, I have to be there managing it. It's the best way to put it. When you make a record, you're there from the beginning of the record to the end of the record. Where in Alaska you lived at? At that time, I was in Nome, which is nowhere pretty.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. I was there for months, but I spend a lot of time in Homer, and that's beautiful. A lot of the videos, like when I introduced Phrase, I was in Homer. So a lot of those promo videos are all shot there in Alaska.
Yeah, I used to live in Adak, bro.
Oh, dope. That's cool.
Off the Aleutian Islands.
Yep.
Place sucked ass, bro.
Hey, Freddie, you've obviously overcome some major achievements already in your career so far. But what would you say is your greatest achievement as of now?
There's a lot of my story that people don't know, and I don't talk about these things just because I'm so invested into what I'm currently doing. In my 20s, I owned and operated a satellite company, and it was very successful. We had 3 offices around Texas. We had 28 technicians. We were doing over 200 jobs per day, installing satellites, servicing satellites. And I remember at the time, the one thing that always stuck with me and what kept me pushing, with that job, I got no sleep. I was constantly on the phone. I was taking hundreds of phone calls a day. I remember one time before 8 a.m., I took like 30 something calls. And that's just the name of the game when you're a business owner. a few things came from that, and that carries over to me to with what I do now. Realizing that the amount of people that we had working with us, like I said, it was 28 technicians, and I had to really sit back, and it took me years to actually, I did it during it, but it also took me years to really like focus on it and understand the value of it. But to understand and to know that I was putting food on the tables for 28 families, like nothing really beats that. But that carries over to today as well. If I bring people joy in a video, if it's an escape for them, or if it's something that they're able to see and then get inspired by, like that, it gives me that same feeling. So I guess my greatest achievement is creating inspiration and helping others.
Hey, bro, you've inspired everyone in this chat, man.
Yeah, definitely, Freddie.
Swifty, in my little company, we have 10, right? I know exactly what you mean. Like knowing that those people depend on you, that you have to be solid, not only for yourself and your company, but this is how they feed their kids. This is how they pay their mortgages, all of this stuff. And it's a lot of responsibility as a leader like that. But I would say that, man, you hit the nail on the head. When I go to sleep at night and my wife and kids are chilling and I know that my team is solid, that is the greatest thing, besides being a parent, I think I'll ever do.
Yep.
Ever.
That's real talk. All right, Freddie. So we have our last portion of this interview. We're going to go to rapid questions. Just answer off the top of your head when asked.
Here we go.
You ready for it?
Yeah, let's go.
Here we go. What is your favorite cut record that has the best and fresh sample?
Hand control.
Nice.
Yep, we knew it.
I called that.
100.
I called that.
Favorite mixer of all time?
I know. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to cut your rapid thing off, but people don't know on hand control, the very, very end of hand control, if you put the needle to the outer grooves and you spin it in, there's a hidden on fresh ultra pitch. So you can always get to it. You just put it at the very end and drag it back, and there's a hidden on fresh, which are ultra pitch. So at -50, it's a crazy, like you can get some different variations of it.
I'm not checking right now.
Matt, you didn't know that.
Yo, we did not know that.
Yay, look at that.
What are you talking about? Hold up.
Yeah, it's not in there because it's hidden.
Matt,
you can't see it visually.
Oh, shit.
You can't see it visually. It's in the last groove, but if you put your needle on the run out groove and you spin backwards, you hear off fresh 3 or 4 times, and it's at -50. You can really get some crazy patterns with that one because the way
tables aren't set up right now. Fuck.
I showed that to Eli one night. We were cutting at his pad, and he was like, "Oh damn, I didn't even realize about that, man. That's crazy."
There's a lot of things in hand control that people don't see. Oh yeah,
especially the beat side.
That one took years to make that record.
Freddie, you were online one night, and me and PJ jumped in the chat with you, and we were talking about the resistance on your fader and all that stuff, and then you walked us through like each of those beats and then increasing or decreasing the tempo.
That tripped me out.
It starts at 133 and it goes at 133, and it's designed to go down pretty much 10 BPM every beat. But on your pitch, you just take it down a notch and all the way down to 70 BPM at the very last groove. But I designed every one of those to play in that frequency at that pitch. So you have a big range, and they're locked grooves, so it'll play forever.
Word. It's such a beautiful record, bro.
Hand Control 2 is going to, like, I haven't said anything about this, but it's almost there. And it's I have to follow up. I don't even know if I should have said the name, but yeah, there's the name. The next record is Hand Control 2.
Oh, shit.
You heard it right here.
The air horns, man. That's some exclusive shit. I didn't make that out, but it's out there now.
That's sick.
All right, Freddie, what would you say your favorite mixer of all time is?
Hack 380.
Yes. Yeah. We knew you're an Eckler fan.
Speaking of a mixer real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. I remember that same day me and Gumbeaux were on. We got you to mess around with the tension because we didn't believe you.
It's always
That's
up.
wild, bro.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy is I've done something to this fader to where, because it like right now it's all the way up. My tension's always as high as it can get. That's because I came from shitty mixers, you know, and I need that tension now. But what's crazy about this mixer now, when I'm cutting for like a 20-minute session, I'll notice the tension goes down, and for some reason the Pioneers lose tension. So I think I've just beat the shit out of this thing to where after like 10-15 minutes, it's like at 55-60% now. Like, but I'll start at 100.
But you throw that fader hard, dog. Like,
Yeah, you have a far throw, bro.
Yeah,
I got
bro.
wrist problems.
Yo, wait, I got a quick question about one of your cuts. You do this like slow drag forward, and it's like the first note of your swing flare, and then you do a swing flare after, I think it is. And you do this cut like quite a bit on some phrases. Is it dicing after, or is it you stabbing it after?
All right, so that's a great question. I didn't learn traditionally. I can't learn with a manual. I need to have hands-on. Therefore, with scratching, I don't know. Like, I couldn't tell you what I'm doing because it's all through ear. It's everything
One
that
of
I
those.
do.
Damn, he's one of those. Fuck.
Yeah, it's everything that I do is through ear, and everything that I learn is that way. Every single cut that I've learned, it's all through ear. And this is important for me, at least. I've never looked at a cut or heard a cut and said, "Oh, I want to know how to do that." I've just heard it in my head, and I'm like, "Oh, how can I like emulate that cut? How can I create that sound?" But I think that's what separates me from everybody else. And you know, like a lot of people, they know when I'm cutting because I have a certain style to it. It's because I didn't learn the traditional fashion. Like I didn't, in respect to people that can, but I just can't. I can't open YouTube and watch a scratch video on an hour how-to and do it like that. It just, my brain doesn't work that way.
That's what's up.
You can't do that either.
I'm the same way, man.
That's what's up.
Next rapid question: How did you use the force in that video? Just kidding.
You know what? I don't
giving us-
I've held it for so long, and I'm considering giving it to you guys.
I want to know so bad.
No. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. Okay. Real talk, Brady. What are your go-to kicks and what model?
Go-to kicks. I'm not super heavy into kicks. I do like them, and I have some fours. But my go-to, man.
You could just say Crocs. It's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna go that route, it's probably Birkenstocks.
Hey,
There you go.
Yeah.
The Jesus.
the Jesus.
No, it's not the Jesus versions. It's the Japanese funky looking ones. It's the
Those are
stylish
dope.
ones. Yeah. Not the Jesus versions. I ain't with that. But no, my go-to, man. I can't let that one live.
I can't let that go.
I can't let that one be the one.
There's nothing wrong with Birkenstocks. There's nothing wrong.
All right,
man.
We'll just move on. We'll move on.
Next question. Which video game are you untouchable at?
Mortal Kombat and Tekken.
Ooh.
Oh, don't talk shit, Freddie. Be careful.
Hold on. Mortal Kombat, who's your guy?
Be careful.
Scorpion.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Which Mortal Kombat?
Oh man, we can go back to one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Super
Okay.
Nintendo.
I grew up on arcades. Like I remember. Speaking of Super Nintendo, I remember when it came home. Like it was. I just remember that feeling. It was in the magazines, Game Pro, and all those. And I remember when that came home to the console, and I was like, "This is not real. This is not real."
Yeah. Do you remember when you unlocked a reptile?
Oh yeah. Hold up though.
Part 2.
Were you guys all Super Nintendo or Sega? I was Sega.
I was-
Super Nintendo had Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and they were identical to the arcade, bro.
Okay, so
Sega was way closer. Way
the
closer.
reason that Sega was better is because if you guys remember, Super Nintendo didn't allow blood. Sega
That's
did.
correct.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Their finishing moves were like PG. Their finishing move.
What was it? 4 backward ABA CABB?
Yeah,
I still
can't
don't
remember
know.
those. Yeah.
That's
I
great.
still roll.
All right, Freddie. If your studio was on fire, which piece of gear would you save
You want me to
first?
show you? I can show you.
Yes.
Let's go.
100%.
And this is the firebox, by the way.
Your man has it on.
It's already in the firebox.
Yep. It's like it's already
in the firebox already. Yo, that's preparation, man. It's already in the firebox.
Separations in the preparation.
These are all test pressings. This entire crate.
Shit!
For the series we did Scratch Crate. Every DJ who is making cut records were sending their test pressings to me. So this is my firebox right here.
That's cool.
Yo,
Yeah,
that's dope.
Word.
Damn. Most repetitive question that appears in your DM.
Okay.
Just be raw, bro. Let it out, man. Let's go.
No, I see quite a few. One I'm happy to be responding to, and that's when will you bring back hand control and phrase?
That was
I
me.
get that. I get those
I was one of them.
all the time. All the time. Like literally
one of
weekly. When will you repress hand control or phrase? And I'm happy that nobody's really, I think everybody understands how much work I put into things. And I don't rush my product. I don't rush my records out. For instance, the next one, like I've been working on it since 2020. But what I'm trying to do with the B-side is it's something that hasn't been done before. And it's introducing something that something that I've created. It's kind of like, when I look at hand control in how can I one up that? If the B-side was all locked grooves, then this B-side's got to be something completely new too. That's pretty much all I could say about what I'm going to launch.
What's something in your DMs that is repetitive and sucks?
Are you single?
Probably why don't you battle?
Yeah, that one.
I get that, but that's very frequent. I don't get that too often. Something that's in my DMs that's repetitive and sucks.
Yeah, that you asked all the time, and you're like,
It's like
man,
annoying.
yeah.
What does Gumbeaux ask you?
Exactly. I ask him about cameras, man.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm down.
And monetization. How do we get us to professional?
I don't. There's very, very few things that bother me when people reach out, because it's just that line of communication that I have with people that I don't have a problem. That's why we have a chat on our website, and people hit us up every single day on there, and it's like, half the time it's like people just want to talk to Swiftstyle, and that's crazy. That blows my mind. Like, and they'll write and they're like, yo, is this Swiftstyle? I'm like, yeah, it's me. Hello, it's Freddie. Like, I'm here. And they'll just, oh, what do you think about this needle? What do you think about this? Or, I don't know. I don't necessarily see anything repetitive that gets on my nerves, because I'm just so happy to have that line of communication with people.
Real talk. Nobody asked you about being single, though, Doug? You know what I mean?
They don't hit that.
No comment.
Which brings us to our next question: celebrity crush. We all could help you out. Like you want? That's all. Who's your celebrity crush? Gumbeaux, who's yours?
My wife.
Oh,
That's a good answer. That's a good.
Wow, she's right there in front of you. She's right there in front of you, isn't she?
He took the safe route.
Alyssa Milano for me, man.
Yo, real talk. That's what's up. Alyssa Milano. My goodness. She's like fine wine, man. Fine wine. Doesn't age.
Or Jessica Alba. Man.
Nah, man. Zoe
newly single, too. She's newly single, bro.
Zoe's cute.
You got your chance now, Peach. She's single, bro.
Zoe Saldana.
She is, huh?
She is, man. Yeah. Ready? Who is it?
I don't know. To be honest with you, it's like I watch very little TV, so I'm not up to date on who's current and on.
It can be a cartoon. It could be a
It
cartoon.
could be anything. It's like, Ninja
It could
Turtle.
be Lola Bunny.
Oh, April O'Neil.
April O'Neil.
Yeah, April O'Neil for sure.
The original. Well, let's go that route.
Yeah, favorite cartoon, Freddie. How's that?
Growing up was definitely the Turtles, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I also loved Transformers.
Don't start.
Okay, I'll back off. But
Don't start. Hey, look.
listen,
Freddie, look.
let me tell you something. I have a story about that, which is great. My love for the dark side came when Optimus Prime died on the movie.
Thank you.
Okay. That movie changed
I came
everything.
when that happened too.
What happened for me is it was like the first time a movie made me cry and made me feel emotions towards something. And instantly, right after that scene, we get introduced to Galvatron. And I go back and watch that scene like once a year for inspiration. The audio, the music, the visuals, everything. But it's like, for me, it was, okay, here's these guys, and he's not good enough to kill Megatron. Or Megatron knocked his ass out. And then let me show you this like crazy, futuristic sci-fi looking with all these great sounds. And that was it. So that's always been my go-to, is just like all the darker things, aspects, cartoons, all of that stuff.
Who's your favorite Transformer? Now that we're on that topic, I'll give you mine, Soundwave, because his loyalties to Megatron, bro. Holy.
Yeah, it would probably be Galvatron. You know, it's like because of that scene.
Yeah,
it's this dude. There you go.
Unicron.
Unicron. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Unicron on that scene. He introduced Galvatron. He created Galvatron. That's what it was.
Galvatron.
He created
Galvatron was Megatron.
He goes inside the
yes. So Unicron is who I was speaking about. Sorry. He turned Megatron into Galvatron in that
Galvatron, correct. He gave him the dark energy.
There it is.
That's correct, sir.
And then after Prime died, he gave it to, before Ronimus, it was like Ultra Magnus, right? But his Matrix didn't glow or some shit.
Ultra Magnus, and it was Hot Rodimus.
And Akira, of course. We got to bring up anime. This is like Akira for me. Such an inspiration.
Great.
Did you watch Daima? You up on Dragon Ball?
No.
What?
No, but I do have, check this out. Speaking of Akira, this guy, this is special.
Sick.
Signed by the composer.
Amazing.
Which is sick.
Yeah, crazy rare. I mean, if you guys know Akira, you know the soundtrack, and the soundtrack means everything. Like, it's
unbelievable.
It just takes you there.
Okay, Freddie, favorite crossfader of all time?
The Eternal Fader.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
With the hack.
But I will say this: I've broken every single Eternal Fader I've ever owned. I've got they're in the closet, but I have 3 broken stacked right now. I'm not cutting with the Eckler because I need to order new Eternals. But I'm so heavy on the fader that I break them. You know.
Are you snapping the stems? Is that what's happening?
Yep.
Yeah.
It disconnects on one end.
You're throwing that shit. That's why, bro.
Top 3 female cutters right now.
So I'm gonna start with the homegirl Tyra from Saigon.
Shout out Tyra.
She is super supportive. Me and her talk quite often, and she's always sending positivity and great energy my way. Then I'm gonna mention the Missing in Action DJ Sarah, if you'll remember her.
The Japanese kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are some of yours? And I need to think about that.
Shorty,
Analyze.
Both are dope. Yeah, I might have to circle back to that one. I don't want to hurt any feelings.
All good. And of course, who has the best barbecue in Texas?
Black's Barbecue.
Oh,
What did they got? What did they got there? Like ribs?
It's all about the brisket. You know, they smoke it, and it's all about the brisket. It's all about brisket.
Is that in your hood?
No, I live out in the country. I live like 30 miles from Austin, out in the country.
I gotta ask something real quick, guys. Sorry. Being a Southern turntablist, like I came up, Louisiana. It was kind of a daunting task, especially in Louisiana. We were constantly fighting for space. There was club DJ stuff, but you weren't really cutting and juggling and getting down like that. How was it in Texas for you coming up like that? I know Houston had a scene. There was several out there. Austin had a scene. How was it for you?
I've always been very locked into my own thing. When I was younger, when I started DJing, I started in the mixtape game, and that's something we didn't talk about, but I taught myself how to make mixtapes, and I rented there was a place here in Austin that's still around called Rock and Roll Rental, and I rented a 4-track cassette player for $18 a month. And I kept it, and that was what I worked for every month. I'm at this time I'm 16, 15. And then I started learning multi-track recording. And with 4 tracks, you don't have very many options, so you have to understand how to bounce tracks, and you have to learn how to record things in mono and stuff like that. So a lot of my stuff was all the mixtape era and the mixtape world, which is a freestyle, like the electro freestyle in that market. But as far as the scene goes, like I didn't even start cutting with people until a lot later in life. And I was the DJ in my neighborhood. I was the DJ doing all of our parties. I was the DJ that everybody knew on this side of town. And this is pre-internet days. So it's not like about the next guy just because you can pick up your phone. It wasn't like that. Right. But we'd make flyers, we did all the things, and we had parties all the time. But I was the guy in our hood, right? But yeah, as far as the scene goes, I think DJing in general is kind of similar in a lot of areas where there's a lot of gatekeepers and there's a lot of this goes back right to DJs covering labels if you remember those days. Yeah. You remember those days where people didn't want you to know what they're mixing. There was no Shazam or anything like that. So you had to remember what you heard. And then when you went to the record store, you're just digging and you're like, if you saw a little piece of that label or you did see the label, but you couldn't read it, you would take a little snapshot and be like, oh man. So if you went to a record convention or something, you would recognize record labels, you would recognize all that stuff. And you'd be like, all right, I'm gonna listen to this one, or I'm gonna check this one out, or I'm gonna pick it up because I know it's probably something I want. Yeah, no doubt. Turntablism was different in the South back in the mid 90s, there wasn't a ton of space for us, man, at all. Yeah. I mean, DJing's always been with me. I got extremely busy at a very young age. I had to work. I didn't take the traditional route with anything in my life. I come from a crazy background. I had to learn at a very young age that I was responsible for myself and making my way. And if I wanted something in my life, I knew I had to work for it. So even with DJing, DJing never left my side, but it wasn't until I turned 30 years old that I had this thing, or I had this moment, right? I guess people would call it an epiphany, but I had this moment where I looked back, I looked at everything I had already accomplished with my business and everything I'd done leading up to that moment. And I told myself, holy shit, if you can be successful in all of these other fields and you love what you do because you love work, it provides, it takes care of people, all the things we talked about earlier, but it isn't absolutely what you love, then what happens when you put your energy into something you love? From that day on, I told myself, I'm going to put all of my energy into my love. And it started with the business mindset. I started a mobile DJ company. We did very good. A few years later, I was like, we were at a job and I was like, yo, this isn't for me no more. We're successful. We got a couple crews out here working. We're doing weddings. We're always busy, but scratching, and this is my life. And it just gradually turned into I'm going to put everything that I have into this. And that's when I went all in. I started learning about cameras. I started filming. I understood back then that the media and the way that the world was going, because I was in the satellite industry, and this was a time where people started what they called cutting the cord and started watching their entertainment in different directions. When I saw that, I started shifting over. One thing that stuck with me that I learned back then was that you're essentially in every single person's pocket at any moment. You just have to know how to reach them. And if it's a small niche community, then that's fine because that's what you love. But you have access to, everybody has access to you. When I learned that and I accepted that, I put everything into film and learning how to film myself. And then I made this video. It was one of the first scratch break videos that I made. I think it was a Transformers flip that I did. But when I combined video with what I had been learning in audio and mastering and all the things that I've been working on, when I combined the two, it felt to me exactly the same feeling I had when I was making mixtapes. And I was like, oh shit, these are all of my ideas combined. And now it has this visual representation and I could show the world that. And from that moment on, I was hooked. I remember sitting back and after I made it, I was like, I just made this thing and I know I know that it can go and expand even further as long as I keep learning and keep applying myself to it. And that's essentially how I got where I am now.
Word.
That's what's up. That's inspiring as fuck, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Okay,
Thanks.
I got one final question for you, Freddie. So, if there's a kid that wants to be like you, that's waiting for his turntables underneath that Christmas tree, what would you tell him?
Be yourself. Take your time and put your best foot forward and all of your energy into something if that's what you believe in. Make it your own. When you get that turntable, make those sounds your own. Make your own style. Create your own lane with it. This is a tool. This is a pathway, right? And take that as an opportunity to express your art and do that every day. You know, don't mimic others. Don't chase other paths. Create your own lane with it.
That's real talk, man.
Fuck yeah.
Freddie,
Fuck
I'd like
yeah.
to just say thank you for joining us on this podcast, man. That was a crazy.
Thank you.
Man. We're honored
Thank
to
you.
have you on. And of course, if you want to find Freddie, he's at Swiftstyle on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you could find this podcast on all streaming services. We are Skratcher on YouTube and Skratcher Podcast on IG, as well as SkratcherNet IG and SkratcherNet on TikTok. And now there's just one thing left to do. Cut it up.
Cut it up.
Yo, Freddie, thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot, Freddie.
Eddie, man.
Yeah,
Thank
no doubt.
you, man.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you guys for everything. Yo, what up? My name is Freddie Swiftstyle Garcia. You are listening to the Skratcher Podcast.
All right.
And that's
man.
a wrap, man.
Yo,
Yo,
that's
that
sick.
was
Thank
up.
you.
That was
Yo,
what's up, man.
Amazing, bro.
That was
That was
up.
best ones, man. That was really good.
Yeah, man.
Yo,
Yeah.
straight up.